You are welcome in online class. In online class today, I am going to start the chapter number 7 and the respiration in living organism, and the topic is the mechanism of breathing. So the mechanism of breathing means that how the breathing take places in different living organisms. So but here we have the breathing. The breathing process means that taking in oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide, and this is the called the simple breathing process. So breathing process is divided into two phases. First is the inspiration, second is the expiration. First is the inspiration. So inspiration, and second phase is the expiration. So what does this mean? So when the outside of our body, the environment, if the pressure of the oxygen is maximum, then in our cell or in our body, so the oxygen, here is oxygen is drawn into the nose, and this through the nose and the nasal pharynx through the trachea. So ultimately these trachea are divided into two parts ultimately. So these oxygen reach to the lungs. Here it will reach to the lungs, and in the lungs there are different respiratory site, that is called the alveolus. So in alveoli there are near about 700 millions of alveoli in the human body. So these alveoli, above the alveoli, there are some blood capillaries. Through these blood capillaries, so oxygen from the alveoli, they diffuse into the blood capillaries, and through the blood capillaries, these oxygen are delivered to all the cells, every cell, and ultimately every cell take the oxygen, and the respiration process take places, and the nutrients are broken, and glucose are broken down, and this glucose, after the oxidation and the breaking down, they release the energy. So these energy are utilized by the living organism for the various works. So here I have talked about the inspiration. So the reaching the oxygen to the lungs is called the inspiration. But when the CO2 from all the cells or the body tissue, these are ultimately sent to the lungs to the expire, and this process is called the expiration. When the carbon dioxide from the lungs, they are expired out, so this is called the expiration. So these are the topic. So now in the mechanism of the breathing, what happens? So it first is the expiration. So in expiration, first of all, we should go through the some topics, and what are the process by which the mechanism of the breathing accomplishes, how it completes. The one thing is that when we look our chest cavity in the figure, so we have the 24 ribs. Just above the 24 ribs, there are the 24 ribs. Let only the cursive if I am making here. So we have the chest cavity. So there are the many ribs. Just above the rib, there is the muscles. These muscles have the also most important role, and just the rib cage. After the rib cage, downwards, this is the sternum bone, and there is the layer of the muscles, that is called the diaphragm. This is called diaphragm, diaphragm. So the rib cage, muscles above the ribs, and there are also intercostal muscles. It is called intercostal muscles. So what happens when the oxygen is taken? This oxygen ultimately when reach to the lungs, and after that, then what happens? The muscles above the rib cage, they contract, and after that due to the contraction, and after that the rib cage they comes outward, and this is the outward and upward. And the diaphragm, here is the diaphragm. In the diaphragm what happens, the diaphragm is attached to just close to the rib cage, but when the inspired air reaches to that one, then this diaphragm, it is the diaphragm, they go down, lower down, they are lower down. So inside the chest cavity what happens, the volume increases, and when the volume increases our the chest cavity, then oxygen are drawn into that one. This is the mechanism of the inspiration. On the same way, other side we can see that when the carbon dioxide from the different tissue, body tissue or the cell, that is to be expired, forced out from the lungs. In that sense, what happened, diaphragm which has been lowered down, now this will be pressurized, abdominal cavity, the pressure will be generated, and this pressure will apply to the diaphragm, here diaphragm, and now the diaphragm will again go to the original place here. So what happens, the cavity just outward, the below the chest cavity